on, guys? So today we're going to be taking a look at the Silver Samurai from the Marvel 80 Years Uncanny X-Men Retro Series. Silver Samurai is going to include two accessories, the katana and the wakizashi. The katana is the longer blade, the wakizashi is the shorter blade. Wearing the two in combination was a symbol that an individual was a samurai, so that's why they include both of those with the figure. With that being explained, let's go ahead and get the figure out of the packaging and take a closer look. Okay, so Silver Samurai wasn't really a figure that I had on my radar. I saw he was part of the wave. I've heard the name in the past. I've seen him, but I've never really read any stories that he was involved in. So once again, I used my Marvel Unlimited subscription to do some research, read a few stories that he was in, get some background on him, and turns out he's a pretty awesome figure. And we'll talk about articulation in a minute, but basically he's a mutant and he has the ability to generate power and channel it through his katana, through any blade actually. It doesn't have to be specifically one. In one of the comics I read, he actually made reference to the fact that, hey, I could order a replica katana through mail order and I would still be as effective with that as I am with this one. So with him, it doesn't really matter what blade he uses. It's just a tool for him to channel his energy through. He's also an interesting character because he's not a pure villain. He's fought against the Avengers, against Spider-Man, against Daredevil and the X-Men, but he's also fought alongside some of those people as well. And he's also been the leader of a team of heroes in Japan at one point. So the stories I read with him in it were pretty interesting because of that. Now let's go ahead and take a look at articulation. Okay, so before we get started with articulation, I did want to point out the fact that there are two little loops on the side of him that are attached to his belt here that you can store his blades in. And so because of that, they'll sit to the side like this. I'm not sure if one is supposed to go over the other, if there's some type of tradition. I'll have to do some research into that. But I have the katana at the bottom, the longer blade at the bottom. So we'll start with the head, and you'll be able to get him looking up about this far, down about this far. And I know it doesn't look like a huge adjustment, but there is some head movement when you have him in hand. It's slight, but it is there. So the up and down movement is a bit limited, but it is there. You do get the side to side head movement. For his arms, he has bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. He does have wrist swivel. The pivot is in an up and down motion though, which makes sense because he's using blades, so you're going to want to be able to pose him like that. Now he has upper torso swivel and pivot, so you can get him leaning back and you can get his torso pivoting, and he also has waist swivel. And I really like when they do that with figures because it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of posing them, especially with a figure that's using blades. So that's a really good feature to see, the upper torso pivot and swivel along with the waist swivel. Now the parts of armor that hang down are not the most pliable that I've seen, but they're pliable enough that they'll get out of the way for him to get into different poses. So he does have thigh swivel, double jointed knees, boot swivel, and ankle pivot. And so even with the armored shoulder pads that he has on, you're still able to get his arms up fairly high. So that shouldn't be a problem. And I'm pretty impressed with the posability of this figure. The articulation, I think they did a great job. They kind of threw in everything they could with him. And even with the armor pieces, you're still able to get him into different poses. So I have no complaints there. Now for the paint apps, you get this mixture of gunmetal gray and silver, along with the red on his chest and on his helmet there. On the back, you get some more of that silverish armor with, you see little rivets in there, so they did a nice job with the details. Even though these pieces are plastic, they're representative of the rope that the samurai would use
to hold this armor together.
So that was a nice touch that they threw in there. His helmet is non-removable. His eyes are black with white pupils. And you have an accurate flesh tone for the lower part of his face. So now let's move ahead to my final thoughts on Silver Samurai. Okay, so for my final thoughts on Silver Samurai, I'm thoroughly impressed with it. I actually liked him a lot more once I actually got him out of the packaging. I think they did a great job on the mixture of silver and gunmetal, so the Art Deco looks great to me. The articulation, they pretty much gave him every piece of articulation that you can give him. So aside from the head movement not being able to move back and forward a lot, I have no complaints really. But even with that, I mean, he's a samurai. He's wearing a lot of armor, and the samurai aren't ninjas, so you know they wear armor that's going to limit their mobility in some respects. With that said, the pliability of the materials they used here actually give him a wide range of mobility, so I think they did a great job with him. I hope you guys enjoyed this series of videos. If you haven't watched the other videos I did on the figures in this series, be sure to check those out. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Who's your favorite figure from the collection? What do you think about Silver Samurai? Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you on the next video.